Hello, and welcome to First Kick Seahawks, the show where we thought we had prepared you for the first kick of every play by game day. I'm Camden McLaren, typical YouTube introductions. Yeah, so the Seahawks just lost in embarrassing fashion versus the LA Rams. But if you had watched the show before we got into this LA game, you would know that that was going to happen. 2 out of the 3 key points I had about what we needed to stop to beat this LA Rams team did not happen. In order, I said first we needed to stop the run. We stopped the run for the most part, right? The biggest problem we had the last, 5 weeks was that we couldn't stop the C gap. We kept having communication problems with the Mike linebacker, now Ernest Jones. Tyrell Dodson moved over to Will, right? Excuse me, left ear just filled up. Ernest Jones, right, takes over Mike, which was originally Tyrell Dodson. We got rid of Jerome Baker, who is having issues all year. And then Devin Witherspoon. Ideally, the 3 of them would start to communicate better and plug into the gap scheme better to stop the run. Didn't look so good against the Buffalo Bills. Well, you know what? Ernest Jones had only been there like 3-4 days. So, yeah, communication problems, right? Tyrell Dodson was moving to a new position. Yeah, communication problems. Go against this Rams team. Looked pretty good. Not so bad. So then, the other thing was penalties. Penalties. I'm rounding down. Rams had about 30 accepted penalties on the year. Seahawks had 60 accepted penalties on the year. Seahawks opponents had about 60 accepted penalties on the year. Rams opponents had about 50 accepted penalties on the year. And that makes sense. We went into it. But for most of the time that LA has been in LA and not in St. Louis, they have spent a lot of time getting referee favors. But you play the teams that you play with the advantages that they play, right? It's just the way that it goes, right? You have to overcome that is something that I always talk about. And we definitely had opportunities to overcome that. We're going to go over all of that today. The third thing was turnovers. Can we stop turning the freaking ball over? Which is part of overcoming the refs. You make it really, really easy on the refs to do what they want to do if you turn over the ball. And that's what was most embarrassing about this performance against LA. Geno Smith, out of the 3 interceptions, 1 of them was his fault. 1 of them. And 1 of them would have at least led to 3 points, or at least a field goal attempt, and we probably would have won that game. Well, Camden, it can't just be based off of that. I know. But here's the thing. Here's the big thing. Courtesy of Pro Football Reference. Our team has 10 interceptions on the season. Which I should have done this one before. Pro Football Reference, passing leaders 2024. Passing leader for total yardage, still Geno Smith, surprisingly, with 2,560 yards. Hey, Derrick Henry's over 1,000 yards on the ground now. Here's what's most interesting. When you go to interception leaders, it's Geno Smith. He's tied for first with Jordan Love, right? That's actually really interesting. Jordan Love, I believe, he's already had his bye week. We're entering our bye. He's 4-3. He also missed a couple weeks. That explains some things. And then Geno Smith, he's played all of his weeks, but he's 4-5. But same number of wins, right? So Jordan Love's actually on a tear when it comes to interceptions. But Geno Smith, of these 10 interceptions, like 5 of them are dropped balls that have bounced off of his receiver's hands and then landed into a defender's arms. And at this point, that's just getting embarrassing. It's embarrassing to see a quarterback who has that happen over and over and over again. And then later in the game, it's obvious that nobody is open, and he then throws the ball directly to a guy, like to a defender. We had it happen versus the 49ers, where instead of taking an easy throw where DK probably would have been wide open, or he would have overthrown DK, he throws it underneath, which leads to an interception. Right? He's feeling pressured. It's embarrassing. It's embarrassing to see Geno Smith behind the second worst, because I guess it's confirmed he is the second most pressured quarterback in the league. He's getting pressured faster than 2.5 seconds, which it seems faster than that, but I guess that's his total average. He has guys in his face so fast that his footwork has gone to crap. It's embarrassing that we have spent the last few years as a Seahawk fan base telling other teams Geno Smith is actually fixed. He's actually, because this is actually the heart of it, right? This is actually the heart of the whole discussion, is Geno Smith was on the Jets and he was terrible. He goes to the Giants, and the conversation about Geno Smith amongst the NFL, including Seahawks fans, is Geno Smith is terrible. He goes to the Chargers. Conversation is Geno Smith is terrible. He's a backup for the Seahawks. Even Seahawk fans say Geno Smith is terrible. He then becomes a starter. And we're like, is he terrible? Not so terrible. He's better than Russ. Is Russell terrible? Geno Smith actually might be good. And we've been debating amongst ourselves, is he good? Is he not so good? You know, by the end of 2022, we're like, he's freaking good. We got a discount. Not a discount quarterback. We got a great quarterback that's on a discount. And now we're embarrassed. And we leave out of the conversation most of the time that he's behind the 32nd paid offensive line. But we got Charles Cross and we got Connor Williams, who's supposedly good. Laken Tomlinson, who looks like a shell of himself. He looks worse than when he was with the Jets. And then Anthony Bradford, who fans were saying last year he looked good. I didn't see it. I wanted Christian Haynes to take over that spot and for Anthony Bradford to lose that role eventually, or to slide over to left guard if Laken Tomlinson looked bad enough. And then at right tackle, I knew we were going to have problems. I thought George Fant was going to be healthy, and I expect Abe Lucas to come back after the bye week. Which is what I've said. I've been saying Abe Lucas is coming back after the bye week since the NFL draft. But I don't expect him to be a first round style player like he was that first year. No, in fact, I expect him to be just as bad as the rest of the line. Because it's embarrassing. The offensive line is so bad that it makes bad defenses. And don't be confused. We just played the LA Rams, which are a bad defense. Versus good, but the LA Rams are a bad defense. And our offensive line made them look so good. And it made Geno Smith look so bad. That first half of the game, we looked really bad. Connor Williams was getting destroyed. Why did we trade for him type of destroyed? Charles Cross does not look like a first-round pick. He looks like Luke Jokel out there. And it's embarrassing, guys, because we've spent the last few years saying Geno Smith is a top 15, top 10 quarterback. And when he's playing on fire, he could be a top 5 quarterback, but he's paid like a bottom 15 quarterback. Seahawks got a good deal. And it's embarrassing. And it doesn't help that our receivers dropped the ball. It doesn't help that A.J. Barner moves behind the line of scrimmage for a little outplay, a little zig route to the outside. Our right side of our line gets pushed back into him. And then it throws for an interception. It doesn't help that our guys are so pushed back that if we fumble the ball, nobody's in a position to retrieve that fumble. But routinely this year, other teams have fumbled the ball and they've retrieved their ball. It happened again, where I believe Kyren Williams fumbled the football and Cooper Kupp recovered. It's embarrassing that Puka Nacua got ejected from this game and it didn't matter. They lost an offensive lineman, Havenstein, and it didn't matter. I want to show you something. I want to show you something about why it didn't matter. We're going to go over a few key moments in this football game. We talked about penalties, right? I told you, again to reiterate, to round down, Rams had 30 penalties accepted on the year. Their opponents had 50. Seahawks had 60 accepted penalties on the year. Opponents had 60. This is a historical trend with the LA Rams. They get more penalty advantages than just about any other team. It's a market thing. If you have fans that are watching your game and they have the opportunity to go do something else when your team is losing, you throw penalties to keep butts in seats to watch advertisements to create impressions. That way that TV networks can make money. It's not always about betting. Sometimes it's literally about keeping butts in seats to make money. So you got the Los Angeles Rams. And if we go to Pro Football Focus, I have the link of that in the description below. They got 5 first downs by penalties. The Seahawks got 2. Well, Camden, that's probably spread about the game. You are right, that is spread about the game. I want to show you what quarters those came in and why that's relevant. Okay, here we are, Pro Football Focus reference, right? So we are in the first quarter. And I know a lot of this is going to be hard to see. I did pre-highlight a bunch of these plays. No penalties to speak of. Here we go. Right here, holding penalty, right? So they just replay the first down. I want you to keep in mind that not all penalties are the same. If you look at the breakdown of this game, where is it? Where is it? Oh yeah, this is good content right here, Camden. This is great content. Here we go. Penalties by yards. Right, so LA Rams had 8 accepted penalties for 83 yards. Seattle Seahawks had 12 accepted penalties for 95 yards. 5 of these 12 penalties gave them a first down. 2 of these penalties gave us a first down. Right? So not all penalties are the same. Also note, some penalties that the LA Rams have repeat first downs. So if you're on first down and you get a holding penalty, that is 10 yards. But then it's just 1st and 20. And the thing about 1st and 20 is that it gives you more space to work with, and it lets you repeat the down. It's a lot easier to convert 1st and 20 because you get 3 plays to make up that yards, and defenders are more spread out. You can get more explosive running yards. You can get more yak after a completed pass. Then say you get a holding call on 3rd down. Let's say it's 3rd and 3 and there's a holding call. It's a lot easier to convert 1st and 20 than 3rd and 13 or 2nd and 13 or right? You get more room to work with. So not all penalties are the same. Okay? So 2 of these, there's 6 more penalties against the LA Rams that we need to keep track of. And then for the Seattle Seahawks, we will continue to roll with that. But keep this in mind, that just because penalties are called against the Rams doesn't mean that it is as equal as a penalty that's called against the Seahawks, and that's the same other direction. Right, so I probably should have kept all of the penalties in the first quarter. Okay, in the first half. All right, so offensive holding for the Rams. It's on 1st down. They repeat the 1st down. Okay, remember, now it's 1st and 20. A lot easier to convert. They don't. It turns into a punt. All right, not so bad. There's a penalty here. Neutral zone infraction for 5 yards. It was 2nd and 4. That gives us a 1st down. Okay, so in the first quarter, with about 5 minutes left, the first of the 2 penalties that lead us to a 1st down is what we received. All right, keep track of that. So there's 1 more 1st down penalty for us. There's 5 more for the Los Angeles Rams. Okay, here's a fumble for Geno Smith that was recovered from Charles Cross. Very fortunate for us. It does go forward. It looks like there was a penalty, which I can't read, but it's a 5-yard penalty. We get to redo the play. 1 yard, right, and then we end up punting, right? We could not run for shit in the first half. LA Rams, they don't do anything, and then they punt. We then don't do anything. Look, incomplete passes back to back, and then we punt. Matthew Stafford doesn't do anything. He has 2 incomplete passes as well, and then they punt. Notice here there was that Cooper Kupp pass for 23 yards that Seattle challenged, and everyone and their mother knew that it was a complete pass. It was the Cooper Kupp 2 feet down, and they challenged it anyways. Yeah, the Seahawks need to get better at that. Geno Smith sacked for 8 yards. That's not good. Here we have a penalty on Laken Tomlinson, offensive holding, 1st down, right? So we get 1st and 20, not so bad, right? Because Kenneth Walker then gets to run for 10 yards, right? You get a lot more space. So then it's 2nd and 10, which is still more capable of overcoming. But then Connor Williams on 2nd and 10 aborts the snap again, and we get 3rd and 33. You're not going to overcome 3rd and 33. We end up punting. Matthew Stafford, right? We continue down this thing. Has a bunch of short passes. We get another offensive holding play. This time it's on 2nd down, 2nd and 4, so it's 2nd and 14. They throw a 19-yard pass on Josh Jobe. All right, so then they run quite a bit. They keep converting. Pass incomplete. Pass incomplete. Aborted snap. It's recovered. And so then they do a field goal. All right. We're having fun. We both have aborted snaps. Isn't that fascinating? We got these completed passes, incomplete pass, left for AJ Barner, right? But we're all right. We're still trucking. Another incomplete pass. Then we end up doing a deep pass touchdown for Geno to Tyler Lockett, right? We're in the 2-minute drill now. Extra point. We got the kickoff. Complete. Got a timeout, right? Then we got a deep pass intended for Puka Nacua, intercepted by Reek Woolen. It's not bad. Puka Nacua then gets ejected for punching a player who was trying to run block, which then I knew that was a new rule, which means that Trent Williams should have been ejected when he played us, but that's just how the things go for the 49ers. Geno Smith then gets the ball, incomplete pass, but then there is a penalty for offensive holding. All right, so then it's 1st and 20. Remember, not all penalties are the same, right? But you can overcome 1st and 20. Creates a ton of space, which gives Jackson Smith and Jigba enough room to get 46 yards. All right, and then we got another incomplete pass for Jackson Smith and Jigba. That's fine. 1st and 10. 2nd and 10. We got a touchdown for Jackson Smith and Jigba. Hell yeah. Seahawks are feeling good. We're feeling like we can conquer the world now. We just scored 2 touchdowns in less than a minute. We picked him off. LA Rams are falling apart at the end. If we just ride this energy, everything's going to be great. And then this happened. Kyron Williams up the middle for 5 yards. Penalty on Roy Robertson Harris. Illegal use of contact. All right. Rams then get a free 1st down. So there's one. Matthew Stafford, incomplete short left intended for Cooper Kupp. Penalty on Josh Joby. Defensive pass interference. 13 yards. Rams then get a second free 1st down. Touchdown. Okay. Then on our next drive, Anthony Bradford, false start 5 yards. We get pushed back from 7 to 12. Then we get sacked immediately by Byron Murphy. Grits no barking. Complete pass deep middle to Jackson Smith and Jigba. But there's a penalty on Michael Jarrell for offensive holding. Offensive holding, which takes back this 41-yard pass. Remember, not all penalties are the same. Not only does it take away the 41-yard pass, it also makes it, instead of 3rd and 16, 3rd and 26. So all those holding penalties before that we went through in the first half when you were really patient, right? The 2nd and 10 penalty, the 1st and 20 penalties are not the same as converting a 41-yard pass on 3rd and 16. Right? That penalty is not the same. Let's continue. We then have to get rid of the ball. Goes back to the LA Rams. Matthew Stafford, incomplete pass to Kobe Parkinson. Penalty on Reek Woolen, illegal contact for 5 yards. Gives them a 1st down. Look at that. It was 3rd and 8. Ends up giving that they would have punted. Just gives them a damn first down. In what world? And if you remember, that's the play where Reek Woolen just has his hand in the hip and isn't actually pulling him down at all. Kyron Williams tackled for no gain. Penalty on Hunter Long, offensive holding, 10-yard penalty. So now they're replaying it. Why can't I read this whole thing? Can I? And then defensive holding for 5 yards offset on Jonathan Hankins. Okay. So yeah, then they just replay the play. So it's a free play basically that doesn't go anywhere. A little bit farther, Matthew Stafford, passing complete short left for Kyron Williams. Penalty on Derek Hall for roughing the passer. If you remember, he just hit the passer while Matthew Stafford was throwing it. He didn't put his body weight on him. He didn't have the size to do that anyways. He hit him as the ball was coming out. We see Geno Smith and everyone else do that all the time. Gives them a first down. They would have punted because they were, on the Seattle 12, or they would have kicked a field goal from a farther distance. New set of downs. So suddenly, the score is all tied up with 13. Geno Smith, once we have the ball back, pass incomplete deep left to Cody White. Penalty on Ahkello Witherspoon. Defensive pass interference for 23 yards. This penalty in particular, there is no way Ahkello Witherspoon should have been called for that. So that's the second of the 2 first down penalties that we got for the entire game. It was 12 minutes and 47 seconds into the game, and then we never got another first down penalty the entire game. And to be clear, the Rams have, what is that? They have 3 first down penalties. They have 4 first down penalties already accepted in the second half alone. Right? We had 2 all game. The Rams have 4 already accepted with 12 minutes 47 seconds remaining in this game, and it helped them put on 10 points in the on the board. Completely different type of game. Also remember, Jason Myers missed an extra point, so really it should be 13-14. Also remember, a 41-yard pass was taken away from us. The game isn't quite the same. It's not the same at all. And when you then throw on this defensive pass interference, it looks like the Rams, it looks like a balanced scoreboard, right? It looks like the penalties are fairly balanced. Because look, the refs are kind of helping out the Seahawks, right? That's not fair. Refs called a couple penalties against the LA Rams. And those weren't fair against the Seahawks. Now we have a penalty that's not fair against the LA Rams. This does lead to the Seahawks scoring a touchdown for Jackson Smith and Jigba, right? This game's cooking. This game's exciting. A few things happen, right? We kind of punt back and forth. We got a punt that's blocked by Cody White. That's exciting, right? Geno Smith, pass right, intended for A.J. Barner, intercepted by Cameron. I can't read that very well because I'm not wearing my glasses. Here's the thing. That could have been a field goal for us, or it could have been defensive holding. This was the play where Jarrell and Bradford were pushed back. I couldn't get a good look at it. I want to take a third look at this play. When I saw it, I saw Bradford shifting in the backfield to catch this play underneath and then go in for a touchdown, right? It was a timing play, so it's not on Geno Smith's, it's not his fault. He has to throw the alert. And yes, Jarrell and Bradford got pushed back. What I saw was, and this is why I want to look at the play for a third time, is Bradford's left shoulder get kicked back. Like he obviously jumped to get over Jarrell, but when he landed, I thought it looked like somebody had grabbed his shoulder to keep him from moving forward, because he landed beyond Jarrell, and then it looked like somebody had grabbed his shoulder and yanked him back and kept him from getting to his assignment. But it could just legit be that Jarrell got knocked into him, which is what caused him to turn. Either way, it's not Geno's fault, and it wasn't a bad play call. It was our offensive line was getting its ass kicked the entire game. There was a point where Kenneth Walker was averaging like 2.3 yards a carry, and he had rushed like 9 times. All right, so they end up not doing anything with the interception. Geno Smith, complete pass to Jackson Smith and Jigba for no gain. Penalty on Michael Jarrell, offensive holding. Again, going from 216 after being sacked to 226. Then there's another penalty on Michael Jarrell for a false start, 5 yards accepted, making it 2-31. Right? Not all penalties are the same. That holding penalty knocking us back. The double decker, right? It doesn't matter. We cannot overcome that. We have to punt. All right, we got another holding penalty for the LA Rams, making it 1st and 20. Holding penalty, not the same, right? They can overcome 1st and 21. It does lead to a punt, but it makes it look like, you know, that they've had a lot of penalties that are comparable to our 12. Oh, they've had 8 penalties. Yeah, but they had 5 penalties in this first half that led to first downs. Geno Smith, complete short right, touchdown, right? Matthew Stafford, incomplete pass to Demarcus Robinson, penalty on Reek Woolen. Here's the 5th one. With 51 seconds left in the game, defensive pass interference on Reek Woolen. And that gives them enough to keep the play in LA's hands, but they don't manage to get any points on the board. But it did give LA a chance to put on 10 points, right? And you get 5 first downs by penalties in the second half of the game. There was about 10. There was about. Let's see. There's about 20 minutes, 25 minutes in this second half here, where the Rams got all of their first downs based entirely off of penalties, and they didn't earn those first downs on their own. That's not okay, right? I mean, you have weird things like this Kyron Williams fumble that leads to a first down, but it's just not a normal game. Just not a normal game for the Seattle Seahawks or the LA Rams for that matter. But we then get into overtime. Geno Smith pass incomplete for Jackson Smith and Jigba. Complete for Jackson Smith and Jigba for 31. Penalty on Kobe Turner. Defensive pass interference gets added on top. Here's the big thing. That's kids playing in the hallway. We're handling things all right? Kenneth Walker for 4 yards. Kenneth Walker for 5 yards. Kenneth Walker for no gain. And then we try again. Kenneth Walker for no gain. And then Stafford comes in and he does this thing, and it's a 39-yard pass for Demarcus Robinson. The big thing about that is the Seahawks did 3 fourth down attempts during this game against the LA Rams, and we converted 2 of them. And I was mad in overtime. Why not just take the 3 points? And then somebody aptly reminded me of the Super Bowl. 49ers Chiefs, this last one. 49ers took the 3, and then the Chiefs came in, scored a touchdown, won the game. And all I could think is, why would you not just take the points? Give your defense the mentality of just don't let them score a touchdown. If they score a field goal, that's fine. Don't lose the game on a touchdown. Because if you're so worried about them getting in field goal range, and you do something like moving to cover 1 or cover 0, you might get beat over the top. And then what do you know? We didn't kick the field goal. Sure, they got the ball at the 17, but then we got gashed over and over and over again. And we were so worried about making sure that they didn't get into field goal range that we went to cover 0. If you remember, Kayvon Wallace, our free safety, was injured, and we kept getting gashed in the deep field. And then we were in short range where if they picked up like 5 or 6 yards, they'd be in field goal range and they'd win the game. So we went to cover 0, and they just blew us apart in the backfield. If we had just kicked the field goal, then we could protect our backfield and live to fight another day. Try to drive down the field and kick another field goal or get a touchdown the following drive, and then make sure that the next drive we don't get gashed down the field. Or even better, give our defense confidence that our offense can put points on the board. There's something to the momentum shift of shit. We didn't even convert on 4th down. And at the very least, if they kick a field goal and then neither offense can win, you have a tie. Which sounds terrible, but it matters when all of the teams in the division only have 4 wins. You know? It kind of matters when all the teams in the divisions only have 4 wins, break even. And so I understand the logic in like the Super Bowl, sure. But this is like a mid-season game. You just lost your free safety, so you can't protect over the top as well as you would like. Like at the very least, put points on the board and see if you can force enough defensive coverage over the top to make them have to play for a field goal because they can't reach the end zone for a touchdown. Like, that was the easiest scoring drive for the Rams all game. It was because they were gashing us over the top because we were trying to prevent a field goal. That's reverse logic. And it was because 3 points were going to beat us. Yeah. So what were the 3 things I talked about? Stop the run. We did okay. Let's go over it really quick. Kyren Williams. He had 22 attempts. Now, we talked about this. Jordan Mason, he was averaging 8.1 rushes, yards per attempt. Last week, Jared Cook, right? It was his best game of the season. Bijan Robinson with the Falcons, it was his best game of the season. You know, we've played a lot of teams these last 5 weeks where their running back is the best game of the season. Kyren Williams, really freaking good running back who's been good all year, averaging about 4.3 yards an attempt, has 22 attempts on us. How many yards do you think that man had on the ground? 69. Nice. He also had 3 targets for 1 yard, 26 yards. Not nice. Yeah. Here's the big thing. Cooper Kupp, 14 targets, 11 receptions, 104 yards. Not nice. Not nice. Here's the scary one. You can thank this one to Kayvon Wallace getting injured. Demarcus Robinson, 9 targets, 6 receptions, 94 yards. Not nice. Most of that coming from the last play of the game in overtime. Again, they targeted that left side twice. That was against cover 0. That was like the Jermaine Kearse play against the Green Bay Packers. Like, why wouldn't you cover over the top? Yeah, but he got most of his yards on that one play. Cooper Kupp having 104 yards was screwing us. But as far as stopping the run, right, our linebacking core, healthy. Our defensive line, healthy. At the very least, those 2 units need to stop the run. They stopped the run. Our defensive room, as far as defensive backs go, they were targeting Joby. You know, he's a guy that we're lifting from the practice squad. They were targeting our free safety in Cody Bryant. He's our 3rd string safety, right? Like they were going for the weak spots in the chain link fence, and they were hitting it, right? Devin Witherspoon, he's doing a whole bunch in coverage. He was getting beat. But Reek Woolen, other than the penalties that he's giving up, which arguably were not penalty worthy, like the Ahkello Witherspoon penalty for the Rams, right? He was shutting people down. But when you put Cooper Kupp and Robinson or whoever on a 3rd string defensive back or safety, they're probably gonna beat that guy. and if you think about Joby, like he's like the 7th string corner. He's legit. Like, let's go through it. You got Reek Woolen, you got Devin Witherspoon, Trey Brown, Artie Burns, Nehemiah Pritchett, and then you got, like, I guess Joby. So he's the 6th string, unless I'm forgetting one other person who might be on IR. He's the 6th string cornerback. Yeah, he's gonna get cooked by a Cooper Kupp, and he was getting cooked by Cooper Kupp. Surprise, surprise. When you look at the Seahawks, Kenneth Walker, 25 carries for 83 yards. That's not good, folks. For a while there, he was averaging 2.3 yards a carry. That's not good, folks. Let's look at how he did for the entire game when it comes to yards per carry. 3.3. So he did eventually get better in the second half. Some of that is swayed by the fact that he was on a 1st and 20 play and ran for 10 yards. But when you're running for 25 times and you get 83 yards, that's not a good game. It's better than Kyren Williams. And like I said, this Los Angeles Rams defense is not good. But that's not a good day for Kenneth Walker. And it was mostly because he had no rushing lanes to speak of. You know, people don't like Zach Charbonnet. He had 2 rushes for 8 yards. But he had no rushing lanes to speak of. Kenneth Walker could not bounce to the outside to do his thing. Jackson Smith and Jigba, 13 targets, 7 receptions, 180 yards and 2 touchdowns. That started in the 2-minute drill of the first quarter. Sorry, of the first half. Nice. Part of that is the fact that they're running the rock like crazy. Part of that is the fact that this Rams defense is really bad. But you quit using JSN in these short passes underneath, you start throwing over the top. You might get something out of that. He is our most targeted receiver on the year. And so, yeah, do more of that, please. Especially since he only did that on 7 receptions. That's about 50%, just over 50% of all of his targets. And a lot of those passes were just deep bombs. He had a 46 yard pass for his longest reception on the day. Tyler Lockett also had 3 receptions for 63 yards. Cody White randomly had 2 receptions for 44 yards. A.J. Barner, 4 receptions for 27 yards. Jake Bobo, 1 reception for nothing. 1 target for nothing. The big thing with Jackson Smith and Jigba, of course, is how he was being utilized. It seemed like he was being used more in that deep passing role, and you just needed to get him in space. And so since there was so many passes being used underneath, it was nice to see him get some shots deep down the field, instead of getting the consistent passes underneath, right? Let's take a look at him really quick. For the season, yards per target. So against Denver, which was arguably the game where we were most excited because he was getting first downs versus Denver, 9.5 yards per target. Against New England, 7.3. Miami, he only got targeted 3 times, but it was 13 yards per target. Detroit, 4.3. Giants, 4.4. San Francisco, 5.9. Atlanta, 1.5 yards per target. He was targeted 6 times. Against Buffalo, the first game without DK Metcalf, right? 9.9 yards. And then against the LA Rams, 13.8 yards. Keep in mind, DK Metcalf, he gets targeted 13.5 yards, right? So there has been 2 games, the Miami game, where he was targeted 3 times, and then this LA game where Jackson Smith and Jigba has been targeted at the same depth level, which is about step 7, right, in the read system that DK Metcalf is being targeted at. For that Miami game, in 3 targets, he had 39 yards, no touchdowns. But that is a smaller sample size. Even though he had 3 receptions, he still had 39 yards. With 7 receptions against LA, he had 180 yards, right? So you can see how that can translate, right? If you get more explosive opportunities, he might have been able to hit 100 yards versus Miami with that 13 yards per target. That's not per reception. That's just per target, right? So there is some untapped potential for him to make moves down the field, but we just kept using him for, when you're getting 6 targets and 1.5 yards per target, maybe you're not being used correctly. 1.5 yards per target is something that the running back or the tight end should be doing. Cool. I got a comment in the chat. Hi, this was hard to watch. It sucks for our home advantage. Is sad to see. 2-4 at home. Hopefully this bye week will help the team. Yeah. So there was an article posted, I don't remember where. It's about the Green Bay Packers. Green Bay Packers, known for their home field advantage, they are also having problems with teams traveling into their stadium. And they haven't had issues with, people have argued that the Seahawks are having problems filling their stadium because fans are mad with the way that the team has been competing over the last 5 or 6 years, right? The Green Bay Packers have been really good consistently, and they have a new quarterback who's really good. They were just in the NFC Championship, and their stadium is filled with opposing fans. What they discovered, this article, is that there's a bunch of corporations in Wisconsin, and it's not just the Packers, right? It's multiple stadiums. They're buying up a bunch of season tickets, and then they're selling it to opposing fans on purpose in bulk. And it's not necessarily just to, make a profit off of the ticket sales. It's if my company owns the concession stands in a building, I want to sell to opposing fans, because if the Packers are losing and the Packers fans start to leave in the third quarter, I want the opposing fans to stay so that they'll go and buy more concessions for the second half of the game. I want people to travel so that they can stay in the hotels, right? If you can't afford, if there's not enough tickets being purchased in a stadium for travel, then you can't fill hotels. So it's not about filling the stadium with home fans. It's about all the money surrounding the stadium. And so it's not just like a Seahawks Lumen Field thing. It's all of the stadiums right now where teams are losing home field advantage. And so it's like the Steelers, when they came to our field a few years ago, that was the thing. 49ers came, Buffalo Bills. When the Rams come to town in a few weeks, that's probably going to be a thing. The Arizona Cardinals have been known for this, where they're in a retirement, type home. A lot of snowbirds live there, right? And they make a lot of money off of tourism, right? Phoenix can be a tourism town. Mariners fans like to go there and watch the Mariners in training camp. Teams are on purpose. They're corporations who are getting a lot of free tickets, or buying tickets in bulk at a discount, are flipping the tickets and selling them to opposing fans to convince the fans to travel into town to rent the hotels and to buy their goods and services. And it's ruining home field advantages and tailgates. So, yeah, it really sucks. What is nice is that our stadium does seem louder this year when we're on the field, but I don't think it's ever going to be as loud as it was in like the 80s, the 90s, the early 2000s Mike Holmgren years, and it's definitely not going to be as loud as the LOB years. That has a lot to do with just straight up marketing. Having our team play the way that it has definitely hasn't helped. Because there could be an incentive for the corporations that have these seats to sell to Seahawk fans that are out of state, because there's a lot of Seahawk fans that live in Hawaii and Japan, right? And there's a lot of Seahawk fans that live in Germany, right? You could make it a destination for Seahawk fans to want to travel, but unless our team is really, really good, like historically good, and enough that the team is going to jack up the prices of the seats, they don't have an incentive to do that. And then when you do that, right, the people that live in the city, they're not going to afford or want to pay for that, right? So I believe it was Dan Vans of the Seahawks Forever podcast. He was saying how he used to go to every single game, and now he only goes to about 4 of them, because it's ridiculous to pay for every single game, not just the tickets themselves, but because the parking to park your car is like $80 to park your car. And if you don't live in the city anymore because you were priced out of the city itself, you end up, having to pay for transit, and then it becomes like an all-day thing, right? All day to get into the city, watch the game, and then all day to get out of the city. And if it's the day before Monday when you work, it's just exhausting. So why would you do that to yourself, eight times out of the year, right? So it's about money, less so about appeasing the fans. But yeah, that's a very, very good point that you made there about how we've only been 2-4 at home, because we're about to have a lot of road games to end the season. We've only had 2 games in our division, the 49ers and the Rams. We have the bye week, and then we're going up against the 49ers out of the bye. I believe, as of today, Christian McCaffrey is not going to be active against us out of the bye. I think he starts coming out of his injured reserve routine as of today, but it's a 21-day thing. So he has this week, the next week, And then the week after they play us, Christian McCaffrey can become active. So we won't be playing Christian McCaffrey, but we'll probably still be playing Jordan Mason. So if we have fixed our running stopping against the C gap, and we're finally healthy in the defensive line, remember we had so many issues in the defensive line when we played them last time, we might be in a good position to stop this team. Brandon Ayuk is on IR. They're relying on Ricky Pearsall, and Deebo Samuel has been having injuries, right? So we could beat this 49ers team. I had said in the beginning of the year that we were going to split games with them. It was either going to be the first game or the second game. Well, we lost the first game. So there's an opportunity for us to come out of the bye week all gears running. If we can just figure out the offensive line, beat this 49ers team. Then we have 2 games against the Cardinals with the Jets in between. The Jets are sometimes good, right? They get really lucky. If we can find a way to split games with the Cardinals or sweep the Cardinals and beat the Jets, the question is, are the Vikings still good? If the Vikings aren't actually good and we can beat the Vikings, I think we can get anywhere between 7 and 9 wins by the end of the season. If we can get closer to 9 wins, we can maybe sneak into that last wild card spot by the end of the season, right? Even if we lose against the 49ers, we could still maybe get 9 wins and sneak into that last wild card spot at the end of the season. That would then rely on us sweeping the Cardinals. So it all depends on, can we not be embarrassing on offense? Connor Williams has to stop snapping the ball that way. Our offensive receivers need to quit fumbling the ball into defenders' hands so that it leads to Geno Smith interceptions. And then our defensive backfield just needs to get healthy. And if we can just continue to play better as far as tackling and gap, control goes, the way that it went against Kyron Williams the other day, we should be in better hands going up against the likes of Jordan Mason, Connor, Hall, and then Kyron Williams again. The Green Bay Packers offense has proven that it can be beaten, right? Jordan Love and Geno Smith both lead the league in interceptions. Sam Darnold is the big question. Are the Vikings legit? Right? I still think we lose against the Packers if we find a way to beat them because of interceptions. That would mean that we have fixed our turnover problem. We have an opportunity to fix ourselves by just getting out of our own heads and maybe getting 9 wins. But that's a lot of ifs, right? We've had a lot of tendencies at the start of the season that have just continued to kind of roll out of control, right? So if we can just settle down and not do what we've done all year, entering the wild card would be really, really cool. And it's not like we're 3 games out of the division lead. We're only 1 game out of the division lead. We've only played 2 division games. Sure, we lost both of them, but we still have 1, 2, 3, 4 division games to go. If we win 3 of those division games, who knows what could happen? We could be second in the division. We could be first in the division, right? We're all neck and neck to take the head of the NFC West. So let's not give up yet, but also let's not fail to acknowledge that we have the 32nd paid offensive line unit in the league, and they're playing like it. But we also have like the healthiest offensive line unit in the NFC West. And that's a coaching problem at that point, right? It's not like we haven't invested in our offensive line. There's something going on with Scott Huff. I don't think he knows how to get offensive linemen prepared for game day. And that's been the prime reason why we keep losing these games and why Geno has been playing so poorly in a lot of these situations. So Thank you for kicking it with me today on First Kick Seahawks. Typical YouTube outros with the liking of the video and subscribing of the channel. I am going to follow up with Dana O'Gorman. She's supposed to be being a guest on the show again this week. And I will see you all around. You enjoy your evening.